We're looking at homework from section 2.5. This is question number 10. Use the accompanying data set to complete the following actions. Find the quartiles, find the interquartile range, and identify any outliers. So to find quartiles, we need our data set to be in order. So let's go ahead and order the data set now. Once we've got it in order, then we can find our quartiles. We're going to underline an equal amount of data entries on each side, leaving, in this case, 2 in the middle. Because there were an even number of data entries here, there were 20 data entries. And so we're going to take the average of these 2 central entries to find our Q2 value. The average of 39 and 41 is going to be 40. So 40 is our Q2 value. 40 falls right in the middle of these 2 values. So there's where our median is. And now we have equally sized chunks of data on each side of the median. There are 10 data values to the left and 10 data values to the right. So when we look at these, we split those up, and because there are an even number of data entries, on the left-hand side, there will be 2 central entries, and on the right-hand side, there will also be 2 central entries. On the left, those 2 entries are 35 and 36, so Q1 will be the average of those 2, which is 35.5. And on the right, the 2 central entries are 45 and 48, so Q3 will be the average of those 2 entries, which is 46.5. So those are your quartile values. Now we can move on to find the interquartile range. To find the interquartile range, remember we need to do Q3 minus Q1. Q3 is 46.5, Q1 is 35.5, and when we subtract those values, we get 11. So the IQR is 11. Once we've identified the interquartile range, then we can determine any outliers. So remember that an outlier is any data value more than 1.5 IQRs less than Q1 or more than 1.5 IQRs greater than Q3. So we need to recall our values for Q1 and Q3. Q1 was 35.5, Q3 was 46.5. Then we had the IQR, which had a value of 11, and we need to compute 1.5 IQRs, which is 1.5 times 11, and that's 16.5. So now we can look for our different outliers. We'll start with Q1. Any data value that's more than 1.5 IQRs less than Q1 would be an outlier. So we take Q1 and subtract 1.5 IQRs. That's 35.5 minus 16.5, which is 19. So at the low end of our data, any value that is smaller than 19 would be considered an outlier. And there is one. 15 is an outlier. Then, at the high end of the data, we take Q3 plus 1.5 IQRs, which is 46.5 plus 16.5, which is 63. So at the high end of our data, any data values that are above 63 would be considered outliers. But at that end of the data, there are no outliers because the highest data value is 56. So we did find one outlier at the low end, and it was 15. That's your answer.